Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pokemon Pocket video. Of course, we have had the kickoff of the first ranked season now. I spent about 6 hours earlier on stream playing it, trying a ton of different decks, trying out some of the newer cards, trying out some of the older stuff, and I think I found, at least for me, what feels like the best sort of go-to ranked deck right now, and what did a decent chunk of my climb towards the end of the stream. So just a couple of highlights. Some of the decks that have been super popular, at least that I've been seeing, is we've seen a lot of Dialga Arceus. I've seen a lot of sort of the fighting style decks, whether it's Rampados or some of the other versions. But it's mainly been those. I guess there's been Articuno 18T, and then we've seen some of the, the Manaphy, Palkia style things. So I was testing some stuff. I spent some time playing Tinkaton, which was decent, as well as a few other stuff, like Meowscarada seems okay, just trying to find something good to pair it with. But I ended up falling back on this slightly altered Gallade list that I made right towards the last couple of hours of the stream, and it felt really good. And there's probably, a couple of key reasons for that. If we look at the deck list, also fantastic new feature, we can just see cards here. But of course we have the Gallade line, right? That's nothing crazy. Obviously a big, oh, I can't click on cards here, it's slightly worse. A big benefit of the Gallade is that it's cheap on energy, which is huge, cheap on retreat, relatively high health total, and I would put a high health total in the lines of does not get knocked out to like an Arceus with red, or Darkrai, these sort of popular high damage things, Giratina as well. So high health, it's going to survive a hit and can still, put out damage, and also its ability is very strong. 70 base damage and then 20 per energy your opponent has on the Pokemon is huge, because the likes of Dialga, Giratina, Arceus, as well as a fair few other ones, it's generally a high energy cost meta, apart from fighting, really. Even like Darkrai, obviously, as well, is pretty high up there. So really, really powerful attack. Can do a lot of damage, and also against Arceus specifically, and a few other things as well, like some of the dark stuff. Fighting is favored, right? Like you get it's weak to fighting, so you do even more damage. So this is the base. Obviously, it is a Gallade deck. It's very good, but there are a few changes and a few ways I've built it that I think helps. So we have the Gallade line. We know, you play the routes in the Gorilla, that's fine. I run 2 Hitmonlees because another frustrating part of the meta right now in Ranked is Druddigon, as well as just, general tactics we'll talk about in a minute. But Hitmonlee is nice, right? You can open it, your opponent's bench is going to start getting hit. Even if that's a Druddigon in the way, you can obviously dodge Druddigon and kind of ignore it and just hit the stuff in the back. If they have Dialga out, they often have Arceus out, which you can kick to help soften up, maybe for a slightly earlier knockout. And also, it's got a good enough amount of health. It can tank a little bit. It's going to tank a couple of those opening shots. And also, we do play 2 Rocky Helms in the list as well, which is pretty huge. Because again, Hitmonlee with a Rocky Helm, or a Sudowoodo, which we'll talk about in a second, with a Rocky Helm, not only are you putting out decent damage, but you're awkward to get rid of as well, because you're going to be dealing just that chip damage. And although there are a lot of decks that are running healing, this like negates a potion or negates some shaman heals, or whatever, and the fact that this damage happens after an attack means they can't instantly heal from it, which is very, very helpful. Next up, you could see the deck list in full anyway, but we have the 1 Sudowoodo in there. Again, it feels, if you're playing fighting, you're not playing Sudowoodo, there's probably something wrong, because so many people, even regardless of the fact that red exists, are still just smashing those EX decks, that just having the 1 in there is pretty strong. Dealing that extra damage to EX, and then of course fighting has some good matchups. Put a Rocky Helm on it, and it starts pressuring the likes of these, Dialga, Darkrai, anything they have early. And also, it's not great, but it's okay to just chip damage into a Druddigon as well if you really need to, because while you're doing this, you are building up your Gallade, right? It's like another frontliner. So again, Sudowoodo, it's kind of self-evident why this is strong. So many people are still playing EX. I'm a little bit surprised, but maybe because it's day 1 I think a lot of people on ranked are sort of playing what they know, and what they know is good, right? The Dialga, Arceus, and such. So that's the Pokemon, and obviously Rocky Helm. For the rest of the deck, it's, you know, 2 balls, 2 research. We know this, not a surprise. But then we have 1 Pokemon communication in there, 2 Cyrus. This is because early Sudowoodo damage, Hitmonlee obviously kicking stuff in the backline, you can Cyrus in, is huge. The Rocky Helms as well, if something's been attacked and then retreats out, you've got it, so that's great. So double Cyrus in there. If you want, you could easily play 1 Cyrus, 1 Sabrina, but I do think the 1 Cyrus is very powerful because right now people seem to be having tons of Pokemon on the bench, and they're pretty high health, so Hitmonlee plus Cyrus is huge. And then the 2 new ones. We have Red, one of my favorite cards in the new set. This is huge because it makes Gallade potentially do even more damage, which is very scary. I don't know if that many people are really expecting Red, or expecting Red in certain decks. I don't think the meta's settled enough to be like, oh, this deck plays Red, this deck doesn't. I would always expect it in like an Arceus deck because it's a big extra push, but in general, I think people haven't really worked out whether or not to play Red, or 1 or 2 of them in any given deck. So the Red's in there to help out with not only Gallade damage, but also it can help with the Sudowoodo as well, right? Just dealing, like, really, really nailing EX Pokemon and putting pressure. So even the heals that a lot of people are running, especially with like a Pokemon Center Lady that's been added, it helps negate a lot of that, and is a decent surprise factor as well. This, again, could be cut for another card. Obviously, Hitmonlee can't use Red. It doesn't do anything. But in general, I like it because it's a lot of extra burst. But if you want to swap this for a Giovanni, or, you know, maybe an X speed if you really want, or something else, that's fine. It's just I like the Gallade being able to really push the damage out in some of these awkward matchups. And then finally, we have Iono. This is an interesting one. I'll be honest with you. I got told to try this out. I played a fair amount of games with Gallade. This never really had a huge impact, but maybe it was because I was drawing well. The idea being that obviously we really want to get to Gallade, right? And if we struggle to get there, we have Pokemon communications, and worst case, we have Iono. One thing I will say is, don't worry about Iono's, like, your opponent shuffles their cards. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't, right? So I just wouldn't really worry about it. Don't forget about your opponent's hand. It's unimportant. Do this if you need to dig for a Gallade, for a Corilla, Ralts, you know, Professor Research, like whatever. You can try this out. I will be trying this more out in my next few streams, so, you know, swing by to check it out if you want to see it live in action. But yeah, Iono, again, could easily be a different card. However, I wouldn't put any more Pokemon in. I'd look at maybe different supporters. But for me, Iono's pretty nice. You could play Team Rocket Grunts as well if you want for, you know, roll the dice on some spice. But yeah, Iono, the idea of Iono is there, right, and makes absolute sense. So yeah, that's the deck list. It's been really, really fun. I do have, if you watch my previous live VOD, there's games of that towards the end, so you can check that out if you want to see some games. Unfortunately, I don't have any time to record more games for you guys because I'm actually super busy today. But I just wanted to get this video out because if you are struggling with ranked, because it's pretty hard, right? Outside of the early bot matches, ranked, it's not fast to climb, right? Unless you really pop off and get a big win streak. It's kind of tough, right? And I think this deck really sits in a extremely solid place, at least for day 1, you know, / day 2. I'll be playing this more tomorrow. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Nothing too crazy. Make sure you you know, like and subscribe, support the channel and everything. I am live on Twitch most days of the week, streaming Pokemon Pocket, of course. I'm trying to grind to Master Ball, and, you know, who knows, maybe we'll go for rank 1, we'll see. But yeah, just give this a whirl if you're struggling. It really is quite good. I do recommend it. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a great day. See you next time.